Well, the George W. Bush Presidential Center and Library will be dedicated this week. Dr. Jeffrey Engel, director of SMU's Center for Presidential History, and can really give us some insight into how this how important this will be. Is the purpose, Dr. Engel, of a presidential library to glorify the presidency or to document it, warts and all?
Hi, good morning. You know, it actually is a little bit of both. From the president's perspective and for his supporters, it's really an opportunity to remember what was accomplished during the president's administration. But for the broader nation, for the reason why we have a presidential archive system, is really to help remember and to document what different administrations do. It's about a place where people can come and study the past and talk about the future and really help move the nation forward.
Will President George W. Bush, probably the defining incident would be the September 11th attacks, but he became in later years a much more controversial president. Do you think in 50 years, you're a historian, in 50 years will he be as controversial as he is today?
You know, I don't know about controversial, but I know he'll certainly be well studied, because I think from 2001 to 2009, that 8-year period, it's really hard to look back on American history and see a period where there are equal number of dramatic events and more importantly, dramatic debates within the country, be they over national security, over education, over different social security, over different kinds of policies. In fact, I just read an interesting point the other day that there are now 16,000 different biographies of Abraham Lincoln. And that's more than 150 years later. So I think in 50 years, 60 years, people are certainly still going to be talking about President Bush.
This president, interestingly, was heavily criticized for being so guarded about loyalty inside the White House, for very closely guarding internal communications in the White House. He was heavily criticized for that, and yet the next president, Obama, who was one of those who criticized him for it, has taken up that same theme of being very, very protective of the internal workings of the White House.
You know, that's actually a historical trend that goes all the way back throughout the 20th century and even before. Every administration comes in thinking they're going to be more open, more honest, more forthright with the American people, and then suddenly they realize that there really are good reasons for having national security secrets and other political secrets held close to the vest. And that's really one of the exciting things about having a presidential archive and a presidential library so close to a campus, is that we'll be able to find out over time exactly what the administration was thinking and exactly what the administration was pondering, both publicly and privately.
And it's not just the presidential library, but the presidential center, in which he intends to continue the work he started. First of all, in what areas, and secondly, it's starting to look like he's going to be very involved in the day-to-day operations. In fact, he even dropped by your class, I understand.
In fact, yeah, as a matter of fact, he did. It was really wonderful. Was teaching a class on strategy, 11 students, all freshmen, and it was wonderful. We planned it for a couple of weeks, a couple of months, I should say. Didn't tell the students he was coming, and suddenly we read his book, and he walked in to discuss it for about 2 hours. And I think it really demonstrates his engagement with the university, and also what the university can gain from having access to former policymakers such as are coming throughout the library system, but also such as are coming to the Institute, where they're going to be focusing on human freedom, on economic development, on health care, the kinds of programs that, frankly, all Americans can get behind in one way or another, and really try to decide for themselves how those should be manifested.
Dr. Engel, thanks very much. We appreciate it.
Wonderful. Thank you.
Well, join us on Thursday morning for special coverage of the Presidential Center dedication. Our live coverage begins at 10 in the morning on Fox 4.